Due to an incredibly annoying drummer being installed right next to me at the rehearsal complex I was renting from, in 2023 I decided to take a backyard shed and convert it into my own personal music studio and office. Check out this video if you'd like to be caught up, but otherwise now it's 2024 and it's time for a walkthrough of my current workstation and setup. Also, as a little subplot, I've got a year of stress testing on a few of the more questionable cost-cutting purchases I made, and I'm going to talk about the good and the bad, as well as the worst purchase of 2023. Just as a heads up, all of the stuff that I use and can vouch for have links in the description. So, to start, every home studio needs clean, noiseless power, and to do that, I have a few Furman power conditioners and a Furman pedal board as well. I haven't had to think about them once, they just do their job reliably and quietly. Next, I wanted to include this bit at the top of the video because it's a topic that I think is growing on the minds of a lot of creators these days, especially in music. As an audio interface for 2024, I am hanging on to my Apogee Symphony Mark II for the time being. I've had this for a long time and I still love it, and I wouldn't have the slightest itch to search for a different AD and DA converter if not for the shockwaves sent throughout the entire industry by immersive audio and more specifically Dolby Atmos. While I'm not one to jump on a bandwagon, this format really doesn't seem to be going anywhere, and as much as I personally don't like to say it, the days and decades of delivering stereo as a final format appear to be fading quickly. There is a workaround where you can convert your stereo files into the Dolby Atmos format, but of course this is not ideal. Rather, you would want to be making content for this format. I've been putting this off until something shows up on the market that just works without a bunch of third-party, bootstrapped, or duct tape solutions added on top of whatever hardware you already have. One solution might come from Audient, which have just released Auria, but as far as implementing something into my personal studio, I'm going to be making careful considerations, and it's going to take time and research before I pull the trigger on anything. Luckily, I've been using Logic Pro as my main DAW for years now, and Dolby Atmos tools have been integrated into it since 2021. I don't think this is something that we can really sleep on as creators. I would love it if others shared their thoughts on this subject in the comments. Okay, so moving on to the captivating subject of Ethernet cable, this is something I wasn't initially so lucky with. A dodgy Wi-Fi signal far away from the house wasn't going to cut it. So originally, I had buried 150 feet of so-called burial-rated outdoor Adorine cable from Amazon, along with the electrical cable. Unfortunately, this off-brand lasted about a month before it cut out completely. Thinking this was just a fluke of bad luck, I dug up my burial and laid down another 150 feet of cable, this time from a different brand off Amazon, ESWMC, which again lasted about a month. Then I got frustrated, not at the cost. Luckily, Ethernet cable can be had pretty cheaply. I was just tired of digging up the yard, even though some might refer to me as a dog. So I decided to try once more, this time with the XXONE brand from Amazon. But just in case, I've left it above the ground, duct taped under the door to my studio. It isn't pretty, but if it survives like that through the winter, then I suppose it does warrant burying it in the springtime. I'm happy to say so far so good. This cable does feel more substantial than the other ones that I've tried, so I'm to assume that it has better insulation and protection from the elements. I'm also to assume that burial rated with some brands means that sure, it can be buried, but nobody ever said anything about it working. Given that the XXONE brand has lasted about 5 months now, and it's only like $4 more expensive than the other brands I've tried, I'd say give this one a shot. The other thing that was sort of a gamble longevity-wise is the flooring that I chose. I used peel and stick panels due to the cost-saving deal I found and the fact that they don't look half bad. However, given that there were inconsistencies in the floor and I wanted some insulation and sound dampening as well, I set down an underlayment beneath the panels. It wasn't exactly clear to me if the panels would separate or peel back over time. However, the floor pretty much looks the same as the day I installed it last winter. So this studio has served as a great workplace that's set far back enough where it's not going to bother the neighbors and I can pretty much use it at any time of the day. On top of that, I made a lot of acoustic panels that are doing their job pretty great. They perform better than something I could have bought for twice the price. Also, 1 year in, and that heavy movable wall panel that I made hasn't ripped out of the drywall yet, so that's a win. Also, the room doesn't have a lot of that unnatural early reflection slapback or decay, but it also doesn't sound too dead. A room like this does require roughly 50% of the space to be treated, which means that I had to make a lot of panels, but the time spent has proven to be well worth it. Anyway, check out the original build video if you'd like to learn more about the acoustic panel building process. Moving on to two pieces of equipment that see heavy use pretty much every day are these ridiculous homemade PCs feeding my CPU and RAM-hungry music applications and plugins. They're both Hackintoshes, one running Logic Pro and the other connected via Ethernet, acting as a host for running plugins. They currently both have 12 900K i9s, the main rig with 128 gigs of RAM, and the additional computer with 64 gigabytes. This setup has proven to be a great cost-effective way of getting a powerful system together without spending the trillion or so dollars that an equivalent Mac tower system would cost.
Allegedly!
However, if you're thinking of doing something similar, I will note that you can run into somewhat frustrating learning curves when not only building, but also maintaining a Hackintosh. I've been making them for about 10 years now, and I still run into situations where I need to refresh my knowledge base from time to time. Utilizing as much space as possible, I attached a WALI monitor arm to one of the computer cases so that I can have a dual monitor setup when producing. This stand has proven to be a good choice because not only is it inexpensive, but it keeps the monitor where I want it, and I can remove it easily during critical mixing decisions. Something about having a lot of monitor real estate when mixing has a way of smearing the frequency spectrum, but I love it during production. So let's talk about actually recording music. For microphones, I've got a variety of dynamic and condenser mics for various applications, but most of the time when it comes to recording voice, I'll turn to the Shure SM7, which I'm using right now, and it's the standard for broadcast, but it also works great for rock and rap music especially. Then another mic that gets a lot of use is the Slate Digital ML1, which is a modeling mic that comes paired with a software counterpart to mimic the characteristics of expensive, historic microphones. These models sound good, however lately I've been favoring Acoustica Audio's Lava software. Lava comes with a larger variety of mics as standard, and additional mics are updated to it periodically for free. Also, this software has the option to use a wide variety of source microphones, source just meaning the mic that you actually record with, so I can choose the ML1 from the list, but suppose I recorded with something like the SM57 or SM7 and would like to experiment with other options. I can do that with Lava. I mean, it's a tall order to say that you can make something like a $100 SM57 sound exactly the same as something like a 5K Neumann, but it is a valiant effort nonetheless. As far as preamps go, in the last month I've added the Warm Audio 412s to my setup, which have become a favorite in short time. I've had their version of the 1176 compressor for a few years now, and I still think it's excellent. So I'd imagine that my impression of the 412s will remain high, but I'll update you if anything changes. I did make a little comparison video about the 412s if you're interested. Then I've got my Chandler TG2s, which have been freshly serviced for 2024, and strangely enough for a gearhead like me, I actually decided to keep the Focusrite Scarlett Gen 4 that I reviewed on this channel a couple of months ago. I intend to use it solely in standalone mode as an extra set of preamps. You get a lot of options with this little box, and I couldn't justify selling it after I was done with the review. So that's my recording chain. Preamps to possibly some compression, to converter to computer. Simple enough. I have worked in studios with a ton of outboard gear over the years, but just as the entire music industry has scaled down, so has the need for lots of analog equipment. Third-party digital plugins continue to come a long way, as a lot of the reviews on this channel highlight. As far as monitoring goes, I've been using the Kali Audio IN8 version 2s for about a year now. I used to have a pair of Focal Solo 6s, but unfortunately, after years of use, one of the power amplifiers has gone bad. I might still have them repaired, but it's incredible how far you can stretch your budget these days monitoring-wise. Anyways, when that creative spark hits, it's no fun having to set up microphones or find a cable or whatever in order to get that idea down. Creative ideas are fleeting, and if you don't take advantage of them right away, then all they're gonna do is tease you while you flounder around trying to remember what they were. So to avoid this, I have permanent stations set up for vocals, drums, bass, keys, and guitar ready to go at all times. Sticking with the guitar for a moment, I've grown very comfortable using software amplifier models in recent years due to the advancements in realism, session recall, and other conveniences that they offer. However, I still have my trusty JCM 800 and Vox recording amps because there's nothing quite as satisfying as playing through a real amplifier, especially if you're playing off of it, looking for feedback and other inspiring side effects of being limited to what you have in front of you in the real analog world. The same can also be said for drums. While I really love the endless possibilities that software like Superior Drummer 3 has to offer, there's still something really satisfying about recording your own drums, and I made a video about it if you're interested. Nothing has been added instrument-wise in my studio for a while now, but I did buy a new MIDI keyboard about 6 months ago. I tried repairing my old one using the method I outlined on my video about do-it-yourself keyboard repair, but for me, it was clearly just time for a new one. I'm not really a keyboard player, I just use it in my writing process, so a decent MIDI controller is all that I need. That being said, I'm more than happy with the choice that I made with the Nektar Impact GXP49. The semi-weighted synth keys have a nice feel to them, and I've never had a problem with any connectivity issues to Logic or virtual instruments. So, what's the worst purchase of 2023? Well, as the old adage, or dadage, since adages are pretty much like little dad jokes, as the old adage goes, you buy cheap, you buy twice. Inexpensive doesn't always mean cheap, but it sure does when it comes to the Aokio AK35 microphone desk stand. At least it wasn't expensive, but this thing really doesn't deserve to be a product at all. It did not hold my SM7 in place whatsoever, but I thought maybe I'd keep it around for spot miking with an SM57 or something else light. However, it can't even be used for that reliably. Unfortunately for me, my return window is up, so into the landfill this goes, which is probably where Amazon would throw it anyways. Yeah, it's not a lot of money, but why put something on the market that you know doesn't work? Broadly speaking, I'd say that's a question a lot of industries need to be answering for these days. Anyways, do yourself a favor, save the frustration, and just buy something like the Warm Audio Broadcast Boom Arm. No, nobody from Warm is asking me to push their stuff. My channel is way too small for that. I just think that Warm is a great company with reliable products at a reasonable price. However, if you would like to see my channel grow, you could always become a subscriber. Anyways, this boom arm is super nice. Also, at the time of recording this, it's on sale for 59 bucks. However, if you miss out, they do periodically have sales throughout the year, so just keep your eye open. Initially, I thought that the freely moving and removable bass could be a problem, but I haven't had any issues, and the only issue I could see for a user would be if they were broadcasting from a slope. Then gravity would obviously get in the way and the microphone would move. Luckily, most of us don't live at the mystery spot, so this shouldn't be a problem. Speaking generally, in 2024, I would really like to finish projects faster. I mean, anybody could say that, but I have to admit to something that I constantly tell others to avoid, which is getting stuck in minutia. As a musician, with all the tools we have available to us these days, it's really easy to become a perfectionist, especially if you're working by yourself. So I guess it's about time that I start to take some of my own advice. Also, I'd like to make more videos this year, so let me know with a like and a subscribe if you'd like to see more of that. Further, I want to make a Spotify, etc. for all of the music that I make on this channel, and outside of it, I'd like to book more production gigs, and I'd also like to collaborate more. So if you're looking to have your music produced, mixed, co-wrote, etc., then please don't hesitate to reach out to me at comoproductions@proton.me. I've included a link in the description just in case you want to send your demos or ideas or anything my way. Other than that, I want to thank you very much for staying until the end of the video. I really appreciate it. I hope you've taken away something useful from this video, and I'll see you next time.